You hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/inkdependence keeps this blog ad-free. Hey folks, welcome to inkdependence.com. I'm Mike, and this is an Aurora ink. This is from the Aurora Special Edition collection, and I've lost the little tab that tells me what color this is, so it's kind of hard to tell, but inside here, you have all kinds of stuff. So this is the red, Rosso Red. It is a 55 milliliter bottle, and it's about $30 online, where you can find it at most of your favorite Aurora dealers. You can see here it's going to be a bright red, and these bottles, by the way, come with a little cap on the inside here. I just got red ink on my finger. Good job, Mike. They come with a little cap in here that you have to like pry out. You're going to get ink under your fingernails. I use a pair of needle nose pliers. That's how I do it. And then I just throw it right away because while that will keep it from leaking in shipment, it is a pain in the butt to take out when you want to fill a pen. So let's look at what this looks like on paper. This is an ink that I was very excited to try out because look how brilliant this red is. I mean, it is gorgeous. You get some real dark, like carmine stuff, scarlet going on down in here. Little bits of sheeny around the edge. You got this nice bit of shading here. So yeah, pretty exciting ink. But it turns out I'm kind of on the fence about this one. So paper, Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter, which is what I always use for these reviews just because it's kind of standard. Everybody can get their hands on it. Flow, kind of dry. So this is where this ink is going to take a bit of a turn for me because I'm not a dry ink fan. I know there are a bunch of dry ink fans out there, so this might be for you. Performance, well, it really kind of depends. So on my 20-pound, 30% recycled copy paper, the worst paper around that you'll probably find in your office or whatever, you get like various sorts of performance. So firstly, I use this pen, which is a Y Studio resin pen. It has a really fine point on it, and it wasn't going super well. I mean, it's okay. Like you can see here, you don't really have any problems, no feathering or anything. A little bit of spread here and there, but also I think some of that's the nib, which wasn't really getting along with the nib. But really, just a couple of dots of bleed through, and on this paper, that's pretty impressive. Second pen I used was this one. This is an Aurora Optima. It has a medium nib, which is it's pretty medium, I guess, in its flow, maybe a little bit on the dry side. And this really didn't get along with it super well either, just because it's a slightly dry nib with a pretty dry ink. And you can see it's kind of inconsistent and that sort of thing, but you don't really have any problems with feathering or whatever. And again, no problems with bleed. So then I put it in a wet pen because I'm like, I want that red, darn it. And I put it in this one, which is a Memento Zero, as they say on the Gold Spot videos about it, from Leonardo. And this has a fine nib, but it is a very wet fine nib, like a real wet fine nib. It means business. And on here, yeah, you get like a significant amount of bleed. But remember, bad paper and a really wet nib will do that. So I'm not shocked, but you get some spread, you get some feathers. It just doesn't behave very well. So for me, I don't really like the dry inks. Like it just doesn't feel good to me. I want to have a wet ink that like goes. But this one, like, you know, your performance will vary wildly based on what paper and nib you use. It's a very persnickety sort of ink, but if you're very specific about where you use it, that's not going to be a problem for you at all. So here are the pins I used for it. Of course, the fine nib here, the fine nib here, and then the medium nib here. And you can see like a big difference between these nibs, and even more so when you look at the writing samples. I mean, it looks like I'm using 3 different inks here, right? So with the Y Studio, which is a legit fine nib with a fairly dry nib, this is I mean, I just didn't like it in here. I kept trying to like it because I'm like, this is a beautiful ink, but I just couldn't do it in there. This one has one much better look to it, I think. It's got more ink on the page, which it really helps. And then this one, I think, looks gorgeous, and it works really well on Rhodia and other coated papers. So, I mean, stick this in something that's a really wet nib, and you're going to get something cool going on. Like a Pelican or something like that, I think would be really good. And, of course, no bleed through or anything here. And then, let's see, let's try to do the water test, and we'll take a look at it on some other papers, and then we'll look at it next to a bunch of other inks, because this is a really cool ink, and I think it deserves some time. Just, you have to be aware of what you're using. All right, let's get it on here. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Give it a little shimmy. Gotta have a little shimmy. Know what I'm saying? All right. You can see plenty of it swirling away, but not a crazy amount. I'm imagining there's going to be something left. I soak up all that ink, goodness. Or that water. Really went heavy on the water this time. There we go. Blot, blot, blot. And plenty of pink came away here. That was from my finger. It's red ink, don't worry. But not as much as you would expect. And yeah, there's plenty of red left over. There's a lot of pink smearing or whatever, but I mean, you have no problem seeing that there were lines and dots and such there. That's really pretty good. So well done. It's nice to have a red that will resist some. I mean, it comes away from the page, but like it leaves plenty there. So good. That's really cool. Here is the chromatography for this ink, and you can see there's like this light pink, this carnation-y, floxy pink that you get down here at the bottom. And then as it goes up, it's really just, I mean, it's mostly just a red ink, right? So I think it's just kind of red up here. Actually, is that... I feel like I'm seeing a little bit of sheen even on here, which is really cool. You don't get a huge amount of sheen. You get some sheen and like some shading here and there from this ink, but it's pretty well saturated, and that's really interesting. All right, cool. All right, let's look at it on some other papers right quick. So firstly, the Tomoe River Ink Journal right here. Let's see. So here's one. So I got this inked it up on 6/6/20, which seems like forever ago, but it wasn't that long ago. And it looks pretty okay. It's looking a little bit like light in here. And so immediately I was like, I don't know, maybe this is not the right ink for this this pen. And then I tried it out here about a month later. We gave up and was like, let's put it in more pens. So here it's still looking a little bit light, and then here you're getting that really rich red color. This is kind of light still here, I think. But from here, this looks good. So using it in a wet ink or a wet nib on good paper, and you'll be in good shape, I think, with this ink. Then here is the Inky Fingers wheat straw paper. Wheat straw paper is really good for fountain pen inks. Let's see, where is it? There we go. There's the first one right there with the Y Studio on here. And again, it's looking a little bit pale perhaps, but it does soak in better to this wheat straw paper. And so I think it ends up looking a little bit better here with this nib than it did on Tomoe River. And then, here's one. I put this on all different pages, apparently. I could not get my act together. Here it is on the wheat straw paper with the Aurora Optima, which still looks pretty okay, but you can tell from these squiggles. Like, you can see the individual squiggles. There's no real ink pooling or anything like that. This is kind of still dry. Still on the dry side. And then... here it is from the Momenta Zero, and you get this nice solid red block. Great like edge shading and that sort of thing going on here. I really like it in the Momenta Zero if you put it on good paper. You put it on bad paper, it's going to be a bad time, but I mean, that's the way she goes, right? Okay, so let's look at it next to a bunch of other inks right quick. There is Aurora Red, and on this Colodex card, man, look at that. It's gorgeous. Got that red sheen, bright red popping there. This is the one that it immediately brought to mind, which is Sailor's Aurora, which is one of my very favorite red inks. Although this one is super bright and does lean toward pink, as you can see in these shaded bits, and has more sheen, has much heavier sheen than you get from the Aurora Red, I think. But this one is more pink. This is more red. So... then we've got Tasha Aka, which I think is in the very same sort of color family. It's a little bit more tomato-y, maybe. It's got more of a sheen over the top of it, and so you get more of a slightly different color. But I think Aka and Aurora Red are definitely in the same area. Then, this is one I've just started using, which is Monteverde Emotions Love, which I think is a darker red, and you really don't get any sheen or anything out of this one. So if you're looking for a saturated red, and you're not going to go like, I don't know, Schaefer Red or something, Monteverde Emotions Love has been really nice for me. Then, here's, let's see, here we go. Monteverde LA Pen Show Special Edition Coral, which is not quite the same. Coral is definitely a bit oranger than the Aurora Red. That's, it's much more orange. Whoa. Much more orange there. But same kind of area. And then, lastly, I think is a really nice pure red, which is Diamine Fire Embers, which was part of the Inkvent calendar, and now you can buy it in a really cool-looking bottle that I haven't tried yet. But this is a very nice-looking ink from Diamine that's in the same area, not really the same amount of sheen or whatever, but same kind of color from the Inkvent. All right. So thank you very much for hanging out and checking out this video about Aurora's Special Edition Red. Moral of the story is put this in the right nib with the right paper combo, and you're gonna have a really good time. But otherwise, it's not gonna be my favorite experience. But if you like dry inks, check this one out. Everybody needs those for those out of control pens. All right, thank you very much, Aurora, or for Kenro, for sending this out. Find this at all your favorite Aurora dealers. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hit up the Patreon. Go and check out my shop, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace out.